Josh Gates has built an empire in paranormal television. From Destination Truth to Expedition Unknown to Expedition X, he's become one of the most recognizable faces in adventure programming. But something has been happening behind the scenes that fans are just now starting to piece together. Cryptic social media posts, canceled appearances, and unusual silence from the usually charismatic host have sparked concern across the paranormal community. Industry insiders are whispering about major changes at Discovery Plus, and Josh's name keeps coming up in those conversations. What he's about to announce will change everything, not just for Expedition X, but for the entire landscape of paranormal television. Before we dive in, make sure you're subscribed because this story is developing rapidly and you won't want to miss what happens next. This is the news Josh Gates is breaking. The first warning sign came in late October when Josh Gates abruptly canceled his scheduled appearance at Paracon in Portland. Fans who had paid premium prices for meet and greets received generic apology emails citing unforeseen scheduling conflicts. This was unusual for Josh, who has built his reputation on being accessible and appreciative of his fan base. Then came the social media silence. Josh, who typically posts multiple times weekly with behind-the-scenes content and location updates, went dark for nearly 3 weeks. When he finally resurfaced, the posts felt different. Carefully curated promotional material with none of his signature humor or personal touch. Longtime followers noticed immediately. Reddit threads exploded with speculation. "Where's the real Josh?" one fan asked. His Instagram stories, usually filled with travel adventures and dad jokes, became sporadic and oddly formal. Industry insiders began sharing whispers at conventions and on private message boards. A production assistant who worked on Expedition Unknown posted cryptically about massive changes coming, before quickly deleting the tweet. Camera operators and location scouts started updating their LinkedIn profiles, a telltale sign that crew members were preparing for career transitions. Josh's usually active engagement with fans on Twitter stopped entirely. No responses to questions, no retweets of fan art, no interaction whatsoever. Even his traditional birthday post thanking fans came weeks late and felt rushed. Most tellingly, promotional interviews for the new Expedition X season featured Phil Torres alone, with Josh appearing only via pre-recorded segments. Something was clearly wrong, and the paranormal community was about to discover just how deep this went. Anyone who has watched Expedition X from the beginning knows the chemistry between Josh Gates and Phil Torres was the show's foundation. Their banter, mutual respect, and complementary skills made every investigation feel authentic and engaging. But careful viewers noticed a shift during Season 4. The playful back and forth became forced. Moments that should have sparked excitement felt awkward and rehearsed. In the Mothman episode, there's a notable scene where Phil makes a discovery and turns to share it with Josh, only to find him distracted and checking his phone. The camera lingers for an uncomfortable beat before cutting away. That wasn't scripted. Production sources reveal that filming schedules became increasingly chaotic. Josh would arrive late to locations, sometimes missing entire investigation setups that Phil had spent hours preparing. What used to be collaborative planning sessions became Phil working with producers while Josh participated via video calls. The Romania investigation that was supposed to film in August got pushed to October, then November, with multiple date changes that created logistical nightmares for the entire crew. On-set tension became palpable. Crew members reported overhearing heated discussions about creative direction and time commitments. Josh wanted to scale back Expedition X filming to focus on other projects. Phil, who had built his career around the show, pushed back hard. Their professional relationship, once genuine friendship, became strictly business. Watch the Season 4 finale closely. During the final group discussion, Josh and Phil barely make eye contact. Their body language speaks volumes. Turned slightly away from each other, forced smiles, scripted dialogue that lacks their usual spontaneity. One crew member described the atmosphere as watching a marriage fall apart in real time. The show continued, but the magic was dying, and both men knew it. To understand Josh's decision, you need to understand the chaos happening at Discovery Plus. The 2022 merger between Discovery and Warner Bros. Created Warner Bros. Discovery, a massive media conglomerate with redundant programming and bloated budgets. CEO David Zaslav immediately began slashing costs. HBO Max originals were canceled mid-production. Discovery Plus shows saw budget cuts of 30 to 40%. Paranormal programming took some of the hardest hits. Ghost Adventures survived due to Zach Bagans' lower production costs and loyal fan base, but premium shows like Expedition Unknown faced serious scrutiny. Josh Gates wasn't just the star of multiple shows. He was an executive producer with significant creative control and a substantial salary. Industry sources estimate his total compensation package exceeded $2 million annually when factoring in producing fees, appearance payments, and profit participation. That made him a prime target during restructuring. Discovery executives wanted to renegotiate, offering contract extensions with reduced budgets, smaller crews, and less creative freedom. For Josh, who had spent years building his production infrastructure and creative vision, this was unacceptable. Meanwhile, streaming platforms like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Apple TV Plus were aggressively pursuing established talent with creator-owned deals. Josh watched friends and colleagues jump ship for independent projects with full creative control and back-end participation. The writing was on the wall. Traditional cable networks were dying, and streaming was the future. But Discovery wasn't going down without a fight. Contract negotiations became contentious. Lawyers got involved. Non-compete clauses were scrutinized. Josh found himself trapped between loyalty to a network that launched his career and the opportunity to build something entirely his own in the new media landscape. Here's what Josh Gates has actually been working on while the paranormal community speculated about his absence. Multiple sources confirm he's been in deep negotiations with Amazon Prime Video for a multi-year, creator-owned production deal worth an estimated $15 million. This isn't just another hosting gig. Josh is launching Gates Entertainment Group, an independent production company with full ownership of all intellectual property. The flagship project is a global adventure series tentatively titled Uncharted that combines elements of Expedition Unknown with high-budget documentary filmmaking on par with Planet Earth or Our Planet. We're talking cinematic drone footage, weeks-long expeditions instead of rushed 3-day shoots, and access to locations that Discovery's budget could never accommodate. Josh has been assembling a dream team: Oscar-nominated cinematographers, award-winning editors, and top-tier sound designers. He's poached key crew members from his Discovery shows, offering equity stakes in the production company rather than just salaries. This is a complete reimagining of adventure television. Episodes will run 60 to 90 minutes instead of the 42-minute cable format that requires constant commercial breaks and manufactured cliffhangers. The content will be designed for binge watching, with serialized investigations spanning multiple episodes. Amazon is betting big on this because their data shows adventure and mystery content performs exceptionally well internationally. Josh's global brand recognition and multilingual capabilities make him perfect for worldwide distribution. But here's the kicker: the deal includes a paranormal investigation component separate from the main series. Josh isn't abandoning that world, he's revolutionizing it. Imagine Expedition X, but with 3-week investigations, thermal imaging technology that costs 6 figures, and consultation with actual scientists and historians instead of just psychics and local legends. No more rushed EVP sessions in the dark. This is methodical, well-researched paranormal investigation with real academic rigor. The contract also gives Josh unprecedented creative control. Amazon's hands-off approach means no network executives demanding changes, no advertiser concerns limiting content, and no censorship of controversial topics. Josh can finally investigate locations and stories that Discovery deemed too risky or expensive. The announcement is scheduled for early next year, once legal teams finalize the Discovery exit and non-compete agreements. But word has leaked, and the industry is already buzzing about what this means for adventure television's future. Expedition Unknown is Josh Gates' baby. He created the show, developed its format, and spent a decade building it into Discovery's most successful adventure series. Walking away isn't simple, and contractually it's even more complicated. Josh currently has obligations for 12 more episodes spanning 2 seasons that were greenlit before merger chaos began. Discovery is holding him to every single episode outlined in his contract. They know Expedition Unknown without Josh Gates is worthless, so they're leveraging the show to extract maximum value before he leaves. Here's the current situation. Josh will complete season 12, which is already in post-production and scheduled to air in early 2025. These episodes were filmed before his Amazon negotiations intensified, and they represent classic Expedition Unknown. Josh traveling to exotic locations, investigating historical mysteries, and delivering the enthusiastic narration fans love. But season 13 is where things get messy. Discovery wants 12 episodes. Josh is contractually obligated to deliver, but his heart isn't in it anymore. Filming has been contentious. Budget cuts mean smaller crews, shorter location shoots, and less ambitious investigations. Josh is essentially going through the motions, fulfilling legal requirements while mentally checked out and focused on his Amazon project. Production insiders describe a funeral atmosphere on set. Everyone knows these are the final episodes, and the energy reflects that reality. Discovery executives are desperately trying to develop an Expedition Unknown successor show or find a replacement host, but focus groups have been brutal. Test audiences simply don't connect with other hosts the same way. Josh Gates is Expedition Unknown. His personality, his storytelling ability, and his genuine curiosity are irreplaceable. Without him, the show is just generic travel content in an oversaturated market. There are rumors Discovery might try to continue Expedition Unknown with rotating guest hosts, similar to how Top Gear attempted to replace Jeremy Clarkson. That experiment failed spectacularly, and industry analysts predict the same outcome here. The show's loyal fan base tunes in for Josh, not the concept. Some episodes might feature Phil Torres or other Discovery personalities stepping in, but viewer retention will plummet. Josh's departure creates a massive hole in Discovery's programming lineup. Expedition Unknown consistently ranked in their top 5 shows for viewer engagement and international distribution value. Losing it weakens Discovery Plus significantly, especially when competing against Netflix and Amazon's growing adventure content libraries. For Josh, finishing these contractual obligations feels like closure on an important chapter of his career, while simultaneously being professionally exhausting as he tries to serve 2 masters, honoring old commitments while building his future. Phil Torres found out about Josh's plans the way most of us did, through industry gossip and leaked information, not from Josh directly. That tells you everything about how their relationship deteriorated. Phil built his entire television career around Expedition X. Before partnering with Josh, he was a respected wildlife biologist and science communicator with occasional TV appearances, but nothing approaching mainstream recognition. Expedition X made him a paranormal television personality with a dedicated fan base. Now that foundation is crumbling, and Phil is left scrambling to figure out his next move. Discovery initially planned to cancel Expedition X entirely once Josh's departure became inevitable. Why invest in a paranormal show without the star who brings the audience? But Phil fought back hard. He pitched a complete show reboot with himself as the solo host, bringing in rotating expert guests for each investigation. Think of it as Phil Torres Investigates, rather than the buddy dynamic that defined the original format. Discovery was skeptical but agreed to a trial season with a significantly reduced budget, 6 episodes instead of the usual 12, and Phil had to accept a lower salary and co-executive producer responsibilities without additional pay. It's a tough pill to swallow, doing more work for less money while living in Josh Gates' shadow. The retooled show faces enormous challenges. Expedition X succeeded because of Josh and Phil's chemistry and complementary skills. Josh brought charisma and storytelling experience. Phil provided scientific credibility and genuine expertise. Without Josh, Phil needs to carry episodes entirely on his personality, and early test footage suggests he struggles with that transition. He's knowledgeable and enthusiastic, but lacks Josh's natural on-camera magnetism and comedic timing that kept audiences engaged during slower investigation moments. Phil is also dealing with fan backlash. Online communities are divided between those who support Phil and blame Josh for abandoning the show, and those who see Phil as a replacement rather than a legitimate solo host. It's an impossible position that Phil never asked for but must now navigate. Behind the scenes, Phil is exploring other opportunities. He's been in talks with National Geographic about wildlife documentary projects that leverage his biology background. Travel Channel has expressed interest in a science-based paranormal show that positions Phil as a skeptical investigator who debunks fraudulent claims while remaining open to genuine unexplained phenomena. These negotiations reveal Phil's smart career strategy: diversify away from dependence on Josh Gates and Discovery. If Expedition X fails without Josh, Phil needs alternatives lined up. Meanwhile, the awkwardness between Phil and Josh is palpable at industry events. They maintain professional courtesy but avoid genuine interaction, a sad ending to what once seemed like authentic friendship built through shared adventures investigating the unknown together. When news of Josh's departure leaked, the paranormal television community erupted with opinions, and they weren't all supportive. Zach Bagans was among the first to respond, posting a cryptic Instagram story that read, "Real investigators stay loyal to the craft, not the paycheck." While he never mentioned Josh by name, everyone understood the implication. Zach has built Ghost Adventures by staying with Travel Channel for over 15 years, and he clearly sees Josh's move as mercenary behavior that prioritizes business over passion. The two have always had a complicated relationship. Mutual respect mixed with professional rivalry and fundamentally different approaches to investigation. Amy Bruni and Adam Berry from Kindred Spirits took a more diplomatic stance, wishing Josh well while emphasizing their commitment to Travel Channel and Warner Bros. Discovery. Their measured response makes sense considering they're hoping for contract renewals and can't afford to alienate network executives. But privately, sources say they're frustrated that Josh's high-profile exit might trigger budget cuts affecting their shows as Discovery tightens spending to compensate for lost flagship programming. Steve Gonsalves and Jason Hawes from Ghost Hunters offered genuine support, tweeting congratulations about Josh's new venture and praising his courage to pursue creative independence. Having left their own original show over contract disputes years ago, they understand the difficult decision Josh faced between financial security and artistic freedom. Their public endorsement carries weight because they successfully rebuilt careers after leaving sci-fi, proving that life exists beyond network television contracts. The fan reaction has been intensely divided and often brutal. Josh's social media mentions are flooded with betrayal accusations from longtime viewers who feel abandoned. "You built your career on Discovery's platform and now you're walking away?" One viral tweet demanded. Others celebrated his bold move, arguing that talented creators deserve ownership of their work and shouldn't be trapped by corporate contracts that limit their potential. Reddit became a battlefield of competing Josh Gates megathreads, analyzing every aspect of the situation. YouTube paranormal channels cranked out reaction videos with clickbait titles ranging from "Josh Gates destroys his legacy" to "Josh Gates makes genius business move." Everyone had an opinion, and most weren't shy about sharing it. The controversy extended beyond paranormal circles into broader entertainment industry discussions about streaming disruption, creator rights, and the collapse of traditional cable television models. Trade publications like Variety and Hollywood Reporter ran features positioning Josh's departure as symptomatic of larger industry shifts, where established talent increasingly rejects network deals for streaming independence and intellectual property ownership that builds long-term wealth rather than just collecting paychecks. The leaked details about Josh's Amazon project paint a picture of something genuinely revolutionary in adventure television. Uncharted will operate on a budget reportedly exceeding $2 million per episode, nearly 5 times what Discovery allocated for Expedition Unknown's final seasons. That money translates into production quality that rivals theatrical documentaries rather than cable reality programming. We're talking red digital cinema cameras capturing in 8K resolution, professional drone operators shooting cinematic establishing shots, and color grading that makes every frame look like National Geographic photography. Josh has partnered with several A-list production talents who bring serious credibility. James Cameron's documentary team is consulting on underwater expedition episodes. Werner Herzog's longtime cinematographer is attached as director of photography for select investigations. The audio design team won an Emmy for their work on Planet Earth 2. This isn't television talent. These are film industry professionals who typically work on projects that premiere at Sundance and Tribeca, not shows that stream on demand. The format itself breaks from traditional adventure television structure. Instead of standalone 42-minute episodes, Uncharted will feature serialized arcs spanning 4 to 6 episodes per investigation. Imagine spending an entire month in Papua New Guinea researching cargo cult origins, with episodes that build on previous discoveries, rather than resetting each week. This allows for genuine depth and complexity impossible in Discovery's commercial break-friendly format that demands manufactured suspense every 8 minutes. Investigations will incorporate serious academic research. Josh is partnering with universities and research institutions, bringing actual archaeologists, anthropologists, and historians on expeditions, instead of just local guides and enthusiastic amateurs. The show will present multiple perspectives on mysteries, acknowledging uncertainty rather than forcing definitive conclusions for narrative satisfaction. This represents a more intellectually honest approach to mystery investigation that respects audience intelligence. The paranormal component operates under similar principles. Rather than rushing through locations collecting questionable EVP recordings, investigations will span weeks using state-of-the-art equipment. Thermal imaging arrays costing hundreds of thousands of dollars, seismographic monitoring to distinguish paranormal claims from environmental factors, consultation with physicists about electromagnetic phenomena before jumping to supernatural conclusions. Josh wants to bring scientific rigor to paranormal investigation while remaining open to genuinely unexplained occurrences. Amazon's global distribution strategy means Uncharted will launch simultaneously in over 200 countries with subtitles in 40 languages. The international scope allows Josh to investigate locations previously inaccessible due to Discovery's limited international production infrastructure. Filming has already begun in Mongolia, Iceland, and Peru, with expeditions planned for Antarctica, Bhutan, and remote Pacific islands. The scale and ambition dwarf anything Josh accomplished at Discovery, representing his ultimate vision finally realized without corporate limitations constraining creative possibilities. Josh Gates leaves Discovery having fundamentally shaped adventure television for an entire generation. Before Destination Truth premiered in 2007, Paranormal Investigation meant grainy footage of people whispering in the dark. Josh brought humor, skepticism, and genuine storytelling craft to the genre. Expedition Unknown elevated travel programming beyond generic tourism into legitimate historical investigation with narrative depth and educational value. His influence appears in countless shows that copied his format: enthusiastic host, exotic locations, blend of education and entertainment. He legitimized adventure television as respectable programming rather than cheap reality filler. That's an impressive legacy regardless of how his Amazon gamble plays out. But some argue he's abandoning the network that gave him opportunities when he was unknown. Discovery took risks on Destination Truth and funded his growth from enthusiastic amateur to polished professional. Others see his move as smart business. Why sacrifice career opportunities for corporate interests that slashed budgets and reduced creative freedom? The real test comes when Uncharted launches. If it succeeds, Josh becomes a visionary who correctly identified streaming's future and inspired other creators to pursue independence. His legacy transforms into that of an industry disruptor. But if Uncharted fails to find an audience or doesn't deliver on its ambitious promises, Josh will be remembered as someone who overestimated his importance and made a catastrophic mistake walking away from guaranteed success. The paranormal community has long memories, and failure would permanently damage his reputation, making any television return extremely difficult.